Welcome back, traders and investors. We are shifting gears here from social media to TV, and we got Marc Berman, editor in chief at TV Media Insights, aka Mr. Television. How you doing today?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
We're doing okay. We're just kind of excited about the markets here this morning, and we got some questions for you. We're gonna weave this into stock market talk as much as we can, so bear with me. But just how'd you get involved in this end of the industry? Were you like were you a movie star or something, and then you decided to write about it? How'd you get involved?
You know what? From the day I was born, I was very interested in television. I had a very unusual interest in watching it, understanding it, following it. And once, I was older and was looking for a career, I'm like, I have to work in television in some capacity. And I fell into the writing end of it 15 years ago. I was working in research and programming, and an opportunity came up to start a column at another website.
Uh
And at
huh.
that time, websites were growing, so I said, let me give it a shot. And here I am.
Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about your site.
We're TVMediaInsights.com. We cover everything television, that's network, cable, syndication, digital. We focus on the ratings, the trends. We have programming information, breaking news. We have a daily trivia question. Today in TV history fact, which, by the way, on this day in 1983, MASH concluded its 11th season run with 106 million viewers. A lot of people.
We love trivia tidbits here for the Daily Show. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So TV and the major networks are really being challenged by the internet right now and in Netflix. Did you have any opinion? I mean, it's. I guess it's a TV. I mean, it's the same thing. It's through the internet. Do you follow the company at all?
I followed, here's the deal with the rising internet. Television is very different now. There's many different ways to watch it. It's all about, the programming, getting the right program on, putting it in the right spot. And you have a network, a place like Netflix that has really made an impact, particularly because it's attracted the critics. House of Cards, Arrested Development. These shows have gotten a lot of critical acclaim, but, and this is very important, the best place to still watch television for the most eyeballs is the old-fashioned way when it's on television. But the DVR usage, the internet, there are so many different facets right now. It's really a changing medium. What we don't know at this point, which is a little challenging for somebody like me who writes about the numbers, we don't know how Netflix is doing. We know that they are growing. They're adding new shows. They're getting Emmy nominations and a lot of positive feedback, but we don't necessarily know how they're doing, which
What do
is
you mean you
important.
don't know how they're doing as far as what? I mean, as far as how the people
Well,
like
well,
the shows, or
here. I'll give you an example. Here's an
okay.
example. It's Friday. It's Friday morning. I just did an analysis of the overnight ratings on the broadcast networks. I talked about, the Big Bang Theory and the crazy ones and Grey's Anatomy and Scandal. We see the numbers. We get updated ratings at 11 o'clock in the morning. We get the national ratings in the afternoon. We get the DVR usage a few days later. All those fun facts. But I don't know how House of Cards is doing on Netflix. I don't know how many people are watching.
Okay.
I don't know. And what's also changing, and this is very important also, you have a movie on a place like Sci-Fi called Sharknado that in terms of the overall numbers was 1.3 million. That's basically average, but it exploded in social media. So you have
Huh.
to now factor in how are these shows doing on Twitter? How is it doing in social media? But I don't have actual raw data from Netflix. I don't know how they're doing.
That's
Nobody does.
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. And people talk about them having to create content. I mean, do you think that they can continue to create enough content to continue to grow?
Oh, I think so. I think so. They certainly have grown in leaps and bounds. They really got on the map when House of Cards and Arrested Development got Emmy nominations. People really took notice of that, and they said, look at this. I mean, you don't have to be on a broadcast network. You don't have to be on a cable network to attract critical acclaim. You could run on Netflix. You can do, you could be on the internet now. And that really opened up the floodgates for everybody else to start thinking, how can we get involved in this? So I think they're going to continue to expand. You have somebody like a Kevin Spacey. He's an Oscar winner.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's on a Netflix show. Arrested Development. This is interesting. It ran on Fox for 2.5 seasons. It never got good ratings, but it got a lot of critical acclaim. Now it's on Netflix, and it's helping putting them on the map. But they're definitely rising, without a doubt.
Okay, now also I think a lot of people, the growth and expansion from getting in, the overseas markets is something that's driving it too. But that's interesting. Do you think they're going to come up with a metric to be able to measure, the shows like what is it, the Nielsen ratings that that you give for the shows? You think you're going to be able to come up with a metric for that?
They're going to have to. They're going to have to at some point. I mean, this is all pure speculation right now. I can't sit here and do an analysis for you on how Netflix is doing or anybody else. Anybody else that's running on any internet servers. I don't know. So at some point, yes, Nielsen or somebody is going to have to come up with a rating service on how to, determine how these shows are doing. That's very important. But right now, there's no way to determine.
Do you follow the stock at all?
Apparently the stock is doing well for Netflix. It's fine. I mean, again, this is a company that's they're growing.
Okay.
They're up and coming. They're getting a lot of positive feedback. So yes, they're in good shape.
Okay, what about from the one end of something that's growing and catching people's attention to something that everyone's just been waiting for and not much has come out of it, Apple TV. I mean, what are they doing over there? What's Tim Cook doing?
They want to be a Netflix. They want to come up with original programming. They want to be a content provider. They want to get into the game. A lot of providers want to get into the game. You have to go back to the beginning days of television, when television began way back when, before any of us were born. You had a handful of networks. You had a network called the Dumont Network, and it was new. It was innovative, and everybody suddenly wanted a piece of it. That's what's kind of happening in the world of the internet. It's kind of a new breeding ground for original content. So Apple wants a part of it. Everybody wants a part of it. It's not going to be an easy thing for them to do because there's a lot of competition out there. And why would Apple TV come in and really make an impact opposite somebody like a Netflix, which is now established and growing rapidly? So it's not easy to do, but they want a piece of it, and so do a lot of places.
Well, wouldn't they be better off just buying a content provider than trying to? I mean, they could buy CBS or something with the change they have in their pocket, right?
Maybe not. But look, it's not necessarily about buying one place and putting it on your provider. It's about originality, about original content, about doing something different. And you have to ask yourself, what can they come up with that's really going to make them stand out? And if anything, the answer to anything in any facet of the business is it's about the quality of the programming. And what really benefited Netflix was coming up with House of Cards. Mm-hmm. This was their show. They got a big name actor in it, a few big name actors, and it's just a very good show. That has helped them. Apple needs to do that now. So it's really always about the quality of the content, if anything.
Okay, so the big network stocks, CBS and Disney in particular, have just had some monster runs, even in the face of increasing competition from somewhere like Netflix. I mean, do you expect? I mean, it's the way these companies are growing and expanding. Do you expect that to continue, or do you think there's some obstacles they're going to face in the not so distant future?
Oh, there's definite obstacles out there. It's a very different medium right now. It's not, once upon a time when I was a kid growing up, there were 3 broadcast networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and there were 3 independent stations, and there was PBS. Then as the years progressed, suddenly there was cable. Then we had a rapid rise of the cable networks. And now we have all these online providers coming in. It's a very different game, but what you have to remember, this is very important. You have a network like a CBS, for example. Let's talk about last night for a second. You have the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory, when the national ratings come out this afternoon, I'm anticipating probably 17 to 18 million viewers. You're not going to get 17 million viewers watching Netflix. It's not going to happen. You're still going to get the biggest bang for your buck, or really your biggest audience on a broadcast network like an ABC or a CBS. Last night, Scandal and Grey's Anatomy came back on ABC. They've been off for a couple of months. ABC brought them back. They did very well in the open. They're going to do very well in the total audience ratings and the demos. You're not going to get that size of an audience in an online provider. It's not going to happen. And this is also very important to remember, to think of. When ABC canceled their daytime soaps, All My Children and One Life to Live, the fans were panicking, carrying on, shouting at the top of their lungs. So ultimately, they went on to an online provider in original episodes. They revived it, put it on, and ultimately, nobody was watching. They weren't generating much interest, so they both got canceled again.
Huh.
So it's very it's very challenging. But again, what you have to remember when you talk about an ABC or a CBS or an NBC, you still will get the most eyeballs on a broadcast network.
Okay, so these networks are getting a ton of revenue from sports programming and probably funding other parts of the company. I mean, do you see this trend continuing, the revenue from sports programming, or do you think eventually it's going to top out?
No, I think it's going to continue. Sports is very pivotal. It's very important. I mean, look, we just came off the Winter Olympics on NBC. We had 2 weeks of the Winter Olympics. It didn't break the record books, but it was 21.4 million viewers on average. There's certainly nothing to sneeze at. You have your Super Bowl. You have all your football games, basketball. The sport is very pivotal to the success of any network. And if you're a broadcast network, you want to have something. For example, next season, CBS has acquired 10 Thursday night football games on Thursday. So they now have to rethink how we're going to position the evening. They paid a lot of money, but they'll get a return because they will get an audience. So sports is still very pivotal and will ultimately, definitely continue. It's not going anywhere.
Okay, all right, and you had the big Comcast Time Warner deal, a consolidation in the industry. Do you think this might face some regulatory concerns, or just what impact do you see it having on the industry?
I think there could be some regulatory concerns. I think, you have to look forward. Moving forward, you kind of have to think how it's going to impact it. I think we have to wait and see what's going to happen in terms of, what's happening with the business. But right now, we're really where the business stands. It's really an era of confusion. It's sort of like, how do we attract the most interest in the right capacity to compete with so many other places? But I do think this at some point will have some kind of an impact, but we have to wait and see what happens.
Okay, and we talk about the big media companies here. Obviously Netflix, the big net, CBS and ABC, NBC, whatnot. Are there other, just any other smaller publicly traded media company that you think investors may want to pay attention to it in the near future?
Well, look, if I'm an investor and I'm thinking, where do I want to put my dollars? My first thought would be, or one of my first thoughts would be, I want to be on cable. I want to be on a platform like HBO or Showtime. I mean, when we have the Emmy Awards every year, where do most of the awards tend to go now? That's on a place like an HBO or a Showtime. You have a lot of rapidly rising cable networks. And then, you have a cable network. This is interesting, like an ABC Family. Now, overall, by the numbers, it's not enormous, but it appeals to young females. It has a very big social media presence. So when you're investing your dollars, you have to think, what is making an impact now in social media? It's very, very important. If I'm an investor, I would think to myself, this whole Sharknado thing on Sci-Fi, they're doing another one, and they'll probably do another one and another one. I want to be a part of it because it's going to go through the roof. So if I'm an investor, I want to think about the broadcast networks as my primary platform. You're going to get the most eyeballs. I want to think of like cable, the cable networks that I think are going to bring in top dollar. And remember, a cable network succeeds because it appeals to a certain demographic, a certain niche. And then, of course, I want to get involved in the whole, growing internet landscape. So I kind of want to spread the wealth to different places, but always remember, go after who you think is going to be watching. If you want to, attract a young female audience, go to a cable network like an ABC Family. If you want quality that's going to get attention, go to an HBO, go to a Showtime. And then, of course, again, most number of eyeballs, broadcast networks.
Okay, all right. We've had Marc Berman on Mr. Television, commenting on the media and TV industry. Thank you. I really tried to twist it in there to stocks, and you did a great job. Thanks a lot for coming on. We appreciate it, and we'd like to have you on again.
Oh, I'm happy to come back.
Okay. Have a good day, Mark. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.